I'd like to call the March 12th, 2026 Peters Township Planning Commission meeting to order. Cover a roll call, please.
Yes. Ms. Peters?
Here.
Mr. Wiley?
Here.
Mr. Mills?
Here.
Ms. Corbel?
Here.
Can I get a motion to approve the February 12th, 2026 minutes?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve those minutes.
I'll second. Go ahead, Leslie.
All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any public comment on items that are not on this agenda? Okay. Hearing none, let's move into old business. 3836 Washington Road, Porcher property.
Yes, this is a plan that we've seen before a handful of times. This will actually be the fourth time before this particular body. I just go over the site, just so everyone's aware of the property that we're talking about. The address location of this site is 3836 Washington Road. It's at the intersection of Washington and Old Oak Road here. It's currently a vacant lot, so sized at about 2.3 acres. The property is zoned general commercial. Access to the lot is provided, it has frontage on both Washington and Old Oak Road. The topography and hydrology are somewhat difficult with this site. You'll see that you have a stream running through the northern side of the site there. That also includes some wetlands, and you have some moderate slopes on the site. So looking at the development that's being proposed before us, they're proposing a multi-tenant structure with retail and restaurant uses. They're proposing a cafe, cigar, wine, bar, restaurant for a total of 9,251 square feet. The proposed access for this site will be off of primarily, well, only off of Old Oak Road here, located at this intersection here. And just to orient everyone, this is Washington Road and this is Old Oak. There is a potential for a future interconnection from this property over to the adjoining, what used to be Med Express and Chipotle. That would be roughly right here. This area is proposed to be graded out to the same grade, as well as also have the driveway placed almost up against the property line, and there is a proposed easement in place so that if that site were to redevelop, the interconnection can be made. Stormwater is proposed to be handled by underground facilities, which you can see mostly in purple here, both at the lower lot and the upper lot. Parking is proposed on 2 levels. We have an upper lot right in here. They're proposing 37 parking spaces, and then there's a lower section here that has 25 spaces, including several spaces underneath the commercial structure. Previously, this had been before us. We, after doing some calculations, learned that the slope of the parking spaces themselves were not meeting the requirements. The applicant applied for a variance from this with the zoning hearing board, and they were granted that to have cross slopes of the parking space to exceed the 5% required for 7%. We'll also point out that since there is quite a bit of slope on the property, there are several walls being proposed. And they're also proposing a buffer yard, 25-foot wide buffer yard along the western side of the property there to be planted with evergreens and canopy trees. And they're proposing light which does not spill over onto the adjoining property. So with that said, the developer has reviewed or provided a number of revisions to their plans, as well as received a variance from the zoning hearing board for the site. They have met all the requirements or addressed all the comments that were provided to them from our consultants and township staff. So with that, the township is making a recommendation to approve with the conditions listed there, being that they address the minor comments in the 2 review letters from Peters Township and Gateway, as well as prior to submitting a building permit, the applicant worked with their consultant on the global stability analysis to make sure it's to the Gateway engineer's satisfaction. Developer would execute a land development agreement with the township that specifies that they will develop the site in accordance with regulations as what is what's proposed here, and also that they pay a traffic impact fee of $108,000 prior to submitting a building permit, And then, of course, if there's any other conditions, we can add them at that time. So with that, I'd open up to questions. I'd also point out our two consultants are here to my side, and the applicant is also here as well.
Jeff, did we get that page in our packet? Is that page in our packet, or am I missing it?
That page is not in our packet. There is a staff recommendation at the end of the packet.
Yeah. Question for Gateway. I know we had a lot of concern about traffic. How has that been addressed, or are you comfortable that the traffic is supported with Old Oak Road being as narrow as it is?
I think you mean
You can
the
point
direct
to
into
Oh, I'm
TPD.
sorry.
That's okay. I'm here. Yeah, there was a traffic impact study that was performed, dated July 2nd, 2025, and we did review that traffic study, and it meets the criteria of the ordinance, so we've looked at it.
Okay, thank you.
What happened when the zoning hearing board, there was a suit or something, and Court of Common Pleas reversed it, or?
So there's actually two ordinances that were applied for the site. In addition to the one that was recently approved, there was one done, I believe, in '24. The zoning hearing board ruled against granting the variance, and that variance was for, the ordinance requires that buildings in the general commercial zoning district have a maximum building setback, and I believe that maximum building setback is 45 feet in this zoning district. If you were to follow those regulations, that would then require this building to be shifted up towards Old Oak Road and basically located on top of the sewer line and in the wetlands. So the applicant requested a variance of from the zoning hearing board. They denied it. It went to the Court of Common Pleas, who reversed it.
And the applicable appeal period has since lapsed.
Correct.
So,
Mike, could you just, for the purposes of everybody here, could you just kind of walk through, what that traffic study would have involved, what would have been looked at, and kind of, you don't have to go through the exact findings, but just a little more in depth as far as what would have been done to study the traffic to ensure that it did meet, the requirements.
I mean, do you want me to do that, or have the applicant has their engineer here,
Well-
or you would rather me do it? I can do
Well,
it.
I would think, yeah, if you could just kind of go through,
Yeah,
like,
sure.
what you reviewed,
Yeah,
and what
so-
you were looking at specifically when then you were making your recommendations back to staff.
Right. So what we do for the traffic impact study is we follow the township ordinance, township code. We require them to bring us information ahead of time. We sit down and set up a scope. We give them a scope of what to study. They study it, come back to us, and we review it. So the intersections that we studied, McMurray Road, Oakwood Road, Route 19 and McMurray Road, Route 19 and the Old Oak Road, and Old Oak Road, Washington Road, Route 19, and both ends of Old Oak Road. I was going to say Old Oak Road twice, but there's two ends to it.
Gotcha, yeah.
And then
Old
Old Oak,
Oak and Oakwood, there's two, so don't get that confused.
right, so one of the intersections was McMurray and Oakwood. Another intersection was Route 19 and Old Oak Road, and then the other intersection of 19 and Old Oak Road across from Cross Gates. And then Washington Road and McMurray Road, and then Old Oak Road at the site access. So those 5 intersections that they studied. We have them do AM peak hour traffic counts, PM peak hour traffic counts, Saturday traffic counts. Basically, they look at the existing conditions. They forecast the number of trips for the proposed development. Mark touched on that a little bit. The cafe, wine bar, restaurants, all those land uses.
And
then-
those forecasts, those are based upon criteria that's set forth somewhere. It's not just what somebody thinks it should be or what it may be. There's
Right.
criteria that's there that are plugged in. Is
Right.
that
Well,
right?
the standard reference we use is the IT trip generation manual. So for
Right.
those different types of land uses, based on square footage, there's a forecasted number of trips that development would generate.
Yeah.
So
You wanna
we
make
go.
sure that the forecast isn't the developer's forecast. It's a set
Right.
forecast based upon criteria.
It's
that's
a
set forth
standard
in
that we all
IT.
agree upon and we use based
Correct.
on the square footage,
Right.
correct. So what you do is you have your existing, you develop your trip forecast, you overlay those trips on top of the existing trips, and then you analyze everything again. You look to identify traffic impacts in the ordinance, and our ordinance pretty much follows what PennDOT does also. It's a level of service-based analysis. We look for level of service impacts, level of service drops. It's all outlined in the ordinance. And anything that does drop or is impacted, they have to mitigate. If it's deficient, we identify it. There weren't any deficiencies or level of service drops, so to speak, based on that. So based
When all
on
the
that,
calculations were put in?
Yes.
You're saying the number of trips that were there, the number of trips that were to be generated, and then that analysis, no deficiencies were identified?
correct.
Okay.
And so what we do is that existing year is 2025. We do a forecast for an opening year of 2026. And then we also add 5 years of growth to it to take it out to 2031 to look at that also. And so for each one of those scenarios, we do a before, a with and without, so to speak, a build and a no build, and compare that. And if there's anything that they identify with level of service problems, they have to correct that as a deficiency. And there weren't any found in the report. So they've met the requirements of the ordinance based on that.
Okay, and those AM and PM trips, those are taken during the week, and then there's Saturday trips on top of that, is that correct?
Correct. What we're looking for is we're looking for the highest hour of traffic during the AM peak hour. So they'll usually count from 7 to 9, and then in the afternoon, I don't remember, it was 4 to 6 or 3 to 6. And then you identify the highest hour of that time, and that's your analysis period. And I think the weekend we do 11 to 1 o'clock. So we're looking for the afternoon on a Saturday.
And for each of those, you use the highest number that you see?
Right, because the traffic impact's always going to be greatest when the existing roadway traffic is greatest. So that's your morning rush, your afternoon rush, and then your Saturday afternoon peak with just general shopping and things like that on
Right.
Saturdays.
Right, okay. And so based upon that entire study, no deficiencies were noted so that the traffic impact met the conditions of our ordinance?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And Mike, following up on those, a little bit on those lines, the traffic impact fee, it says it will tentatively be 108,000 and some change. Is that based on the actual, what the applicant has determined will be the tenants, or what will be the tenants in reality?
So we base it on the square footages, and I believe that they're up on the board there, right there. So we take those individual square footages, we match them to the IT land use, because that's how we have our township ordinance written for impact fees, is that we base the impact fee on that IT trip generation manual. So the impact fee is based on that square footage, how many PM peak hour trips each one of those generates, and then that number of trips is multiplied by the fee, and that's how we come up with $108,000. And when I said tentative, that's because, things change on a plan. So if they would come in and that would, they would change one of those uses to something else before final land development. That's why I always put the word tentative there. If the use changes to something else, like a barber shop or a hair salon or something, that's a different land use. It would change the calculation. And there are provisions in the ordinance if people do a use change even after development occurs and they go down the road and they come in for a use change down the road. We do have provisions in the ordinance to catch things like that. So they would have to say, I don't know, whatever would generate something more than a restaurant or a wine bar. If there's something that's more intensive traffic that would come in, they'd have to look at the impact fee again and pay an incremental for the higher use down the road. So
Would they get a credit if the opposite were true?
that's not how it works.
No, no. Mark, I see this as a recommendation. Is it so to council, or is
It's a
it stop here?
recommendation for you to make an approved decision. So this will not be going to council.
I do have a question for Gateway. The global stability analysis, can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so we received that analysis Tuesday, March 10th, and what that analysis is you're looking at the existing soil conditions with respect to the excavations that are made on site, and you're analyzing the stability of the site. So to simply put it, you're looking at the excavations and making sure that the hillside's stable. It's not going to slide, it's not going to move. That's the purpose of that model. That's been received, that was reviewed. They satisfied our comments, and that model is consistent with the requirements of the ordinance.
Okay, thank
So
you.
you are satisfied with the geo, so could we take that off as Gateway not being satisfied, Mark? You had one
We
recommendation.
we did issue a conditional approval letter today,
Okay,
and there's a minor comment to add a note to the plan
Okay.
that references the global stability model that was received
so
on
it was
Tuesday.
just adding a note.
And the purpose of that is to call attention to it so contractors and people building it understand that
Okay.
exists and they should review it.
That's
Okay.
a technical issue, though, just a technical note, right? They're not changing anything, they have to go back
Correct,
and
it's,
do
I would
anything
call it
different.
administrative in nature.
Right,
They
okay.
need to add a simple note to
Uh,
the plan.
yep.
Yep.
And then Mark, so just where we are right now then, so this is zoned for commercial.
It's zoned for
It's a
commercial,
permitted
yes.
use in this area based
Correct.
upon our ordinance.
Correct.
And now they have met any of the conditions or the issues that we've addressed in
Correct.
prior meetings.
Correct.
And that's a C1 commercial, is that the way it's zoned?
General commercial, yes, C1.
And that's consistent with what, like the Chipotle and the Med Express
Yes.
and
Yes,
all that area around
All the properties
there.
along Washington
Yep,
are
and then-
zoned, and then behind
And
it
then behind it as well.
is R1.
Right.
This is probably a question for the applicant, but I'll ask you before that. What triggers the connection between this planned parking or driveway and the Med Express
It would
parking
be
lot?
when the adjoining property comes in for either a land development plan or a subdivision plan.
So if
in
they
other words,
don't change, they'll never have access, correct? Unless for some reason they grant it.
Correct. Yeah, so they need to come in with they basically need to do some redevelopment, and then we would force that connection.
Okay.
You-
If they, I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
if they just change one of the tenants,
That does not
just
force
to
it.
come in for a new CO wouldn't trigger.
Correct. It needs to be, they'd have to be revising the size of the building or the lot layout, and then we would, make that requirement.
So it's a change in footprint somehow?
Correct.
Generally speaking, it's a change
Correct.
in some sort of
Yeah.
way the footprint changes?
Right.
Okay, so not even just like a regrading or redoing the driveway, things like that, or the parking lot?
General
wouldn't be
maintenance
enough?
would not affect it.
Right, okay. And do we go and usually ask if somebody will voluntarily do that, do the share, or?
We asked the applicant to make that, and they did request that from the adjoining property owner, and they are back here and can probably speak
Okay.
better to that, but it's my understanding the property owner adjoining this property was not interested.
Okay.
Just for completeness, can we have the applicant come up or its professionals? If the commission has any questions. You can just state your name and sign in, please, who you're with.
Hello, everyone. My name's Sean Adele. I am an engineer with Harshman CE Group. I am the lead site design engineer for this property. Think your engineers and your staff did a great job explaining the project to you. Be happy to answer any technical questions you may have to the best of my ability with the information I have here. Additionally, this is Mr. Angelo Porcher. He's the owner of the property, and Josh.
Josh Hader with Worcester, the traffic consultant.
Right, thank you.
Sean, is the easement sufficient, the easement next to that Med Express property, at some point in the future, that connection could be made?
Correct.
The way
So
that it's-
we're providing an easement, and we've also recommended that when the developer's agreement's prepared, a special section be added to it to dictate the terms of connection requirements. There's a few notes on the plans too that go into what's required as far as assuring that that connection can be made if such a decision is, put on the adjoining property. So there's the ability for it to occur.
And whoever made the approach to the property owner, just talk about what you asked and how that conversation went involved, just so that we have it
Yeah.
publicly.
My name's Angelo Porcher, and I actually had done the site work for Mr. Koza, Craig Koza, who's property owner with the PNC in Chipotle. And my father at that time owned this parcel of property that we're talking about. So I have a personal relationship with him. I explained to him what we were planning on doing 2 years ago, year and a half ago, sent him the original drawings that we had. and the township was insistent upon a connection, or would like to have seen the connection. So I talked to him, asked him, hey, is it possible it may potentially hold me up if I do not get this interconnection? And his statement was that he never was, the township did not require him at the time of his development to put a easement, grant the easement to the property line. He doesn't want my people parking on his parking lot, and he does not want to interconnect.
Okay. So you had a full conversation, you made the ask, explain the problem.
And we have that same issue throughout the township on a lot of commercial properties, such as the Giant Eagle property. We've been wanting them to connect with the former Kmart property, which is now Aldi's, and there's a fence up there. The property owners have to agree to it, so neither agreed to it, so. This is common throughout the township.
Yeah, yeah. And then, you heard Mike talk a little bit about the traffic study. Anything
Sure.
that you thought was worthwhile to add to that? And again, from the times that where you did the timing from the days of the week?
Sure.
Those hours, is that right as far as the hours that he identified? Is that when you did the studies?
Yeah, he did.
You took the counts?
Those were done in May, 7 to 9, 4 to 6 on a weekday, and 11 to 2 on a Saturday.
Okay.
He summed it up perfectly. I really don't have much to add. We
Okay.
also evaluated site distance, where the site access is going to be, to
Mhm.
ensure that it's, you can safely see to enter and exit out on Old Oak Road. And did a crash history analysis at all of those study intersections that he mentioned.
And Mike, that's something you guys would then have looked at again? You would have double-checked it, analyzed it, brought up any questions or issues, and you didn't see any deficiencies there either?
Correct,
Site
that was all in the
distance.
report they submitted, the site distance, crash history, the level of service.
Okay, yep.
Your best guess, unless there's been a study that's done, and I don't know how you do it, what percentage of your anticipated flow would enter and exit via Washington Road? Any calculations done on that, as opposed to going through the neighborhood?
Enter and exit directly off of,
Yeah, coming off Washington Road both ways instead of going back through the neighborhood.
because of the difficulty, it's quite easy to make a right turn onto Washington Road there, but it's very busy. You're coming up grade. Through observation and discussion with Mr. Mudry, we think that the majority of folks that want to go north on Washington Road would go through and use the upper access, but that also still represents a relatively, not a relatively small, but only a portion of the total trips, because people are going south on Washington Road, east-west on McMurray Road. So of those that are destined to the north, the majority will go through travel up Old Oak Road to the signal in lieu of trying to make that left turn during busy times of the day. So I've been to the site many times, and during the time frames that we study, as Mike kind of said, we want to identify, we kind of look at the worst case scenario. So when traffic is the worst, that's when we want to look at it. But obviously other times of the day when traffic's not so heavy on Route 19, we would expect more people to just take the more direct route and make that left turn. But certainly in the morning rush and the evening rush and on Saturday, that's a difficult left turn, so.
Any other questions for the developer from the commission? Thanks, guys. Might be calling you back up. Any audience comments? Anybody on this side? Will go in order. Anybody on this side would like to talk? Okay, we'll go here. Please come up, sir, introduce yourself, write your name down.
Mark Ryan, I live at 104 Oakwood. What was the date of the study?
What study?
He
are you
said
talking,
July,
traffic
right?
study?
The traffic
He said
study?
May.
May.
Looks like May.
The report I have is dated July 2nd, 2025.
When was
He
it
might have
done?
done the counts
The
before.
counts may be done before the report.
Yeah, he does the counts.
You can't do the counts on the same day as the
I think it was May.
May,
It's May,
so it's
so
it's
probably
the same.
2 months more before he puts it in the report.
Okay.
And one of the things we do, I guess the point to that is we require the counts to be done when school is in session. So usually we don't accept counts on holidays, breaks, spring break, summertime, things like that. So
Oh, good to know.
And just from the developer, does that comport with what you heard? It was about May of 2025 would have been when the counts were taken?
That's correct. The
Okay.
counts were done toward the end of May.
Okay.
And then the study was first issued in June. In response to some comments from TPD, it was revised a number of times, most recently in January, so
Of 26?
26, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else, sir?
No, not right now.
Thank you.
Please come up, sir.
Thank you, and I appreciate you asking all the questions you did.
Can you tell us your name, sir?
Randy Hino. I've been I grew up here. Graduated in the 70s when the new high school was built in the prior, in 69. Two things. First of all, with the traffic study, the only thing I want to say about that, it was done before 10,000 square feet of commercial development was there. If you don't think a traffic study, once this is all completed, do the traffic study again, I'm sure it's going to be different. They were not basing it that you're going to have 10,000 square feet of commercial. The second thing, and I don't want to waste your time, that whole development, that was the Donaldson House, if any of you are from this area, way back when the Tally Ho restaurant and the Hollywood was there. And it was a farmhouse. And when they sold that farmhouse, they opened up. This is Washington Road, so right around here is the Donaldson's Crossroad intersection. And then you have everything else. I guarantee you, if I was on the board or the council, when they looked at this property, they looked at West McMurray Road and they looked at Route 19. I guarantee nobody would fathom the fact that you would access this from this. And the reason I say this is, and I hope since this has been going on for a couple months, that you all went to the site. This road, Route 19, this is a bowl. It is like a country road bowl. It goes down, it curves, it goes back up. For that to access in there, it's kind of like saying on Center Church Road where La Calera is and there's an engineering place, let's put 10,000 square feet of retail off Center Church Road off of Route 19. I don't think that was the intention. And not to repeat, but I just don't think that when you had West McMurray Road and you had Route 19 and you had this block of commercial zoning, nobody would have pictured you're gonna come off of Old Oak Road. That is like a little country road, and you know what, if it was just kind of straight and it went in, as soon as, right here is Donaldson Crossroads Light. If you get in the left lane, you're going northbound. As soon as you go through the light, you have to get in there. And first of all, a lot of times, you can't even get in there because nobody pays attention to the sign that says, do not block the intersection. Because it's only from, say, me to over there by Mark. It's not very far. And if you are, God forbid, if you're coming out of there, yeah, you can maybe make a right turn if somebody lets you in. To get across to the left lane, to go onto East McMurray Road during these peak traffic times, to make a left turn out of there is never gonna happen. My point is, where it's right in here, this is the main access. This is where people are going to try to come in to get in there, and it's just horrible. So like I said, 10,000 square feet, the traffic study was done when it was just residential. And if any of you have been there, and I pray that you have been there, I walk the dog there, all these people that are here from our area, they know that. That is going to be an accident waiting to happen. People come flying off there, making the left-hand turn because people are coming down 19, people are up, they're trying to get out of there, and so you're gonna say, well, they have the other access. Okay, so if this is the place, you're gonna go all the way down here by the Krebs Center, and you're gonna make the left there, Old Oak, and you're gonna go all the way back down that way, or worse, you're gonna be down on West McMurray, and you're gonna go back towards where Stratford Manor is, and you're gonna come up that way. In fact, and I appreciate you, sir, that you wanna do this, but if you, like I said, we walk past that all the time. If you went to Mount Washington, and you see how they have the problems, and you were gonna build right on that side of the hill and put $1 million house on there, would you do that? I just wouldn't do it. I don't know why, with all the other property, that you can't find a different place to do this. And the people are not gonna access you. You've been denied that. They do not want them cutting through there. So if you're gonna premise it on the fact that, oh, in the future, he may, be able to have access this way, you're wrong. You have to approve it with the access that the way it is right now. And I challenge you, even if you have to take another month, go out there, walk that road. And I'll tell you what, God forbid, if the fire department ever had to take a truck down there, and so, okay, you go up here and there's a place to turn around, what if it's blocked? What if there's an accident? This, I'm just telling you, I pray to God you really look at this for what it is. And sir, I wish you the best in this. But being a developer, that's great. But what, you have gold buried back there that you want to go in there? To me, I don't know why anybody would want to develop that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mike,
Anybody
would
else?
you mind just addressing the questions about the traffic study and the 10,000? Because I know you talked a little bit before about then, once the gentleman's comment was that when the traffic studies were done, it was before, this is the 10,000. But I think you had talked before a little bit about how then the projections are done.
Right, so we do Josh did the traffic study, counts in 2025. We run existing traffic analysis of what's there today when they did the traffic count in 2025. Then we do an opening year of 2026, and we do a 2031 projection. We add some background growth, based on regional PennDOT information that we have, just general traffic growth. But the no build and build scenario that we analyze in there, and the comparison that we're making is that the property is empty in one scenario, but then the 9251 square feet trip generation is overlaid on top of that traffic, and then we analyze it a second time. So there's the no build versus the build condition, and that's what the traffic study is comparing, the impacts of what's there with nothing on the property and what's there with the 9251 square feet on the property, and that's the comparison.
And the trips that are anticipated.
And the trips that go with
generated.
that, right. Those. So what you do is you generate those trips, they generate whatever trips, and then you distribute them over your study intersections and you overlay them, and then you do with the no build versus the build, and you analyze the same intersection with and without this development in that intersection, basically.
Right, so just to be clear, that what we're looking at today in the traffic study that we have in front of us and that was used as far as the deficiencies and whether it would meet the ordinance,
Right.
does include an analysis post-build.
Yes,
With the
it's-
trips generated
yes.
based upon these uses here,
Right,
right?
correct.
Okay. Thank you, thanks.
Right over here, please.
I have a letter drafted up that includes Mary Robinson, 117 Old Oak.
Okay.
Includes some stuff that I've sent out to most of the neighborhood and the community. Before I get to that, going back to the traffic study, could you please state off of that traffic study the additional vehicle counts? Because what I received, there are numbers, and I think it is pertinent for these people to hear the additional vehicles per day.
I mean, it's the applicant's study. I think he should, if he wants to get up and pull numbers out.
Please come on up.
I can tell you if that's the number, what he says, I can tell you if that's what I saw in this, but I think he should.
Sure.
Right.
And just to clarify, you asked for the additional traffic over the course of the day?
Yep, there are 4 different ones I'm seeing directly
Sure.
off of the chip generation 6.2.
Okay, so over the course of a 24-hour period, it's expected to generate 1,314 additional trips. So that is an inbound trip and an outbound trip are counted separately. So basically that's 657 vehicles entering and then exiting. So that's where you get the 1,314. Now in the individual peak hours, so during the busiest hour between 7 and 9 a.m., it'll be 27 additional trips. During the PM peak hour, one single hour between 4 and 6, it's 100 additional trips. And then in the Saturday, it's 165 additional trips. And those ones, the peak hours are not necessarily split 50-50 because, you know, more people might be going in the morning and less leaving, et cetera.
So while we're saying that this is within ratio to what the township says is okay, 1,347 additional vehicles going past my house on a day. I'm not sure how many you want to have coming past your house on a day, but that's a little excessive. So, back to the letter I got.
Okay.
So, our community has repeatedly come together, and I mean our neighborhood, to advocate for the safety, character, and value of our homes and neighborhood. We've consistently raised our serious concerns about traffic from this new development being directed on Old Oak, a quiet street where my children and others ride their bikes and our neighbors walk their dogs. The other end of Old Oak already deals with through traffic from West McMurray and has long been neglected by the township, despite ongoing issues with dangerous conditions and frequent speeding. The traffic study recommends no road changes, but predicts a sharp rise in cars on our street, particularly on weekends when residents expect peace. As this project has moved forward, we've endured increased noise pollution caused by the unauthorized clearing of nearby land, done to improve the sight lines for this traffic study, as well as illegal curb modifications and instances of verbal harassment towards the elderly residents and children on our public road by this developer. While we are reminded of the developer's rights to build on his property, we ask, what about our rights to safely enjoy our homes? Who among this group is protecting our property values? I've heard the claim that we will appreciate these changes eventually, but we choose to live in Peters Township, not Mount Lebanon. We are not looking for bars or cafes at the end of our street. Our community does not lack these amenities. As another wine bar recently opened up in our township, but not too close to residential homes. And I'm requesting our township to clarify how this bar was permitted when Chapter 440 zoning requires that any bar or nightclub be located at least 300 feet from a residential zoning district. We still have never received an answer on that. That has been brought up in multiple meetings, and we have heard, we'll check into it. Approving this plan will substantially impact one of the original neighborhoods of Peters Township, in not only a negative, but a dangerous way, taking from its taxpayers their property value, safety, and peace of mind. In return, you're giving back nothing this community doesn't already have. Thank you for my 2 minutes.
Anybody else? Please come up, sir.
I'll just be brief. I just want to my name is Jared Saferno, so I live on Old Oak Road. Again, 3 things. Just one is, I would like you guys to walk the road. Don, I asked you that before. Just want to clarify, when you said Aldi and Giant Eagle, they don't have agreements to do intercross traffic.
Correct.
But neither of those entities dump onto a residential street, correct? The answer is no.
On the other side, it goes actually up to a residential area by.
But it goes
before
up
the
by
Max and
Atrius.
Yeah.
But it's not
Yeah.
our situation. So you're
No,
dumping out
I
our
just think he was
residents.
just trying to give the example.
I was
that
giving
we've
you-
tried
Yeah, you
it in
can't-
other instances, and we can't
We're trying to
force
do
it.
that
That's
throughout
all
the
we're saying.
township. We try to do it with residential neighborhoods. It's a township thing we've been trying to do for 20
Right.
years.
I
It was
get
just an
that.
example of something that had.
Please walk the road
interconnections.
before you make a decision. The reason why, and he's very fortunate that the developer knows the other developer next door, very fortunate. Because he's fortunate because he was denied access throughway. Because if he was provided that access, it would be a significant additional cost for the development due to the slopes of the property. It's not, that's the, just on record. He doesn't want access to come in through Med Express. I wouldn't if I was a developer. It's easier to go off of Old Oak Road. It's much more cost effective. It's a cost. It's money. So what you're gonna do in this decision, just for the record too, you're gonna decrease the value of all those homes on Old Oak. Strike of a pen, you're gonna decrease our value. And you're shifting that value of homes to the developer. Bottom line. So if you feel comfortable with that, that's great, because you can engineer around anything with today's technologies and subsidence and, you can civil engineer around anything. It's just additional funding and cost. So with the strike of a pen, if you approve this, you're taking the value in that road of the home values, you're shifting it with the strike of a pen from the owners of those homes to the developer. You're probably aware of that. I decided to get it off my chest. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I sit?
You can
I hurt my knee earlier.
Oh, okay,
today.
sure, ma'am.
Okay. I'm Elaine Calvert. I live at 128 Oakwood Road. I just want to echo some of the comments that have been shared today. When you make that left from Washington Road, if you're making a left, like you pass Walgreens and you make that turn, there are often large trucks, and there is a very close berm when you come through there. I have often hit my curb or hit my tire on that curb. You want to come over and almost like hit the car next to you. It is a residential neighborhood, so even with that the little traffic that we have, I don't want to say little because I think it's significant already, but I think that needs to be looked at. And if you go out and you walk it and you drive it, you'll see what we're talking about right as you make that turn. There are kids that play here. That is a lot of extra traffic. Dennis coordinated a traffic study of our own, I think sometime in 2024.
Yes.
Asking the township already to help us with traffic in the area. So they came and they put up 2 of the speed things.
Traffic calming.
The signs that tell you like 23 miles an hour. So we already have a traffic problem where people are coming. The counts of that study were in the thousands of traffic coming through our neighborhood. So to increase that by another 1,500 cars a day in a neighborhood where our little kids are riding bikes, it's really significant. I think our biggest thing is, great, have the facility, but put it onto Washington Road. And that's not being discussed because it's really not a viable option. There's 100 feet, 200 feet of frontage there on, between the stoplight and that exit point. It's not a lot. And so I really just encourage you to think about this. It's really not, as a resident of Peters, what's best for us. It's not what's best for our families to have that amount of traffic coming through, not what's best for the kids, not what's best for our property values. And I appreciate your time tonight, and thank you for the consideration of our friends and neighbors here. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Please come up.
My name is Leanne Adenucci. I live at 121 Old Oak Road. You've already heard all the traffic information, and that's all true. But my biggest issue, I think, is the single access point onto a residential road. The fact that this is going to be a business serving alcohol, and that is not consistent with, incompatible with a residential street. It would funnel most of the traffic past our homes. There's safety concerns with people impaired driving. pedestrian resident safety, it affects our property values. Are you gonna buy a house on a street that has a bar? In Peters Township, it's just not what we would expect. And so I hope that you would vote the way that you would vote if you lived on our street. And it was your property value, your safety, your peace. There has to be, I have little hope that there, any cross-access will ever occur. There was a previous meeting where I think you might have asked the engineer if that cross-access ever was allowed, whether they were going to regrade, because where they're gonna be grading is 1 to 2 feet below that Med Express parking lot, and the response was that they would have to come down to their level. The owner of the Med Express lot would have to come down to their level. I'm not really sure how that works, but I have little hope that any additional access will ever be granted, and we'll have a bar at the end of our street. Thank you.
Please come up and introduce yourself.
Lori Hino, 113 Alexander Drive. The one thing, they've done the traffic study, but what about like big delivery trucks? I mean, it's a restaurant. I mean, are big semis coming in? How big are the delivery trucks? And was that looked at on, how are they gonna get in and out?
I don't know if it's traffic or site engineer on this issue.
Yes.
You want to come on up, please?
Sure thing. So we submitted a drawing just basically showing different vehicles turning around. Of course, the biggest vehicle we expect may ever enter the site is the fire truck. So what we needed to do was provide an area for the fire truck to turn around. Additionally, we looked at a garbage truck because there will be dumpsters on the site that need emptied. And we also looked at the delivery vehicle. The delivery vehicle is the smallest of them. It's not a semi. It's almost like one of those bigger Amazon vans. So
I don't know. I mean, I've seen restaurants like those big Cisco trucks come in. And stuff.
Right.
Those are like semi trucks. I mean,
But you did evaluate all that, right?
yeah, so it's a SU-30, and it's on page LD 18 of the drawings. I have a copy here. I'd be glad to show you. But fire trucks would be coming and turning around up in this area. That's what
Gateway,
that
Mark, you guys
stripe
looked at all that on the
was. The
trucks,
garbage
right?
truck would be
Okay.
picking up the garbage, turning around.
Picture it with cars stopped at that stop sign, at that exit by Washington Road. A fire truck is not getting in, unless you're
right
saying
here.
stop, back up, everybody. It's
Well,
not happening.
this is,
Oh,
there's like that
what if
burn, like
a house? What if a house back there catches on fire? Are you
There will
telling
be
me a fire truck?
630
can't get
right
into
onto the side of the
neighborhood?
road.
There will be 630
They're on the side of the road. They're not
Sir,
going up the hill.
let's stop all this right now. We're not gonna have this. If you have a question, you can ask it.
but I've come in from 19. Not too long ago, there was like a flatbed truck, like ones that you would, be towing a car. I couldn't turn in there because it's not wide enough. So if you're gonna have big delivery trucks and they're gonna come out this way, they're not gonna turn left, they're gonna turn right. But the people coming in from 19 can't get in. And you're crossing the traffic there, people are coming fast. And so now you're just gonna be sitting there until that big truck comes out. And then you have more traffic, and this is gonna be backed up. And it's like around the curve, and it's just not gonna work.
So maybe we can ask, because obviously the developer, does all the studies, puts in everything, the criteria, and then we have the township personnel and Gateway and Mr. Mudry, who then analyze all of it and look and make sure that it meets the criteria that is set forth in the ordinance, right? So now we know what they put in, and understand your comments. So are those things that have been looked at as far as size and turnaround radius and access for emergency vehicles, using the fire truck as like one of the largest.
Right, I mean, I
yeah.
understand what they did on the property.
Yeah,
but-
we're gonna ask
yeah.
them, like, how they analyze it, yeah. So,
I mean,
I think it's more gateway, and like as far as the radiuses and things like that, that's part of things that you study.
Yeah, I mean,
and you
that's
look
all,
at.
I mean, it's kind of both of us, but it's all part of the turning templates of the vehicles, the size of the vehicle, the axle spacing, radius of the turns. That's all looked at as part of
And
this.
you all evaluate it, and it meets the ordinance.
I mean, it meets, the existing intersection is an existing intersection in Township that meets the street criteria from when it was built. So there's, it's a public street. It's
Yeah.
designed for.
To deal with this,
Right.
yeah.
And the one thing I was gonna say that I looked it up, Old Oak Road is actually classified as a minor collector street in the ordinance.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying, it's classified with that level of traffic intent.
Can you explain, just so these residents understand what a minor collector street is when they purchase their house?
Well, there's different street classifications. There's local streets, there's a minor collector, there's a major collector, and I want to say there's minor arterial, major arterial. So as you go up in class, it's,
So collector means there's many roads going, it's collecting,
yes, you'll have local roads funnel onto a collector street. You'll have
Which
more
creates
driveways,
traffic.
you'll have more access, potential, not mix of residential and
Commercial.
as you go up in those classifications.
okay.
So what's the minor thing? I don't understand.
Different levels.
It's definitions, it's in chapter 385 is the subdivision, and there's a section in there on street classification. So all roads in the township, they're either classified as local streets, which is your subdivisions and things like that. The next one up is minor collector, major collector, minor arterial, major arterial. So as you go up, the road gets bigger, the road handles more traffic, the road has more commercial type access and things like that, so.
And that's how it's classified.
That's how it's classified in the ordinance,
And the
correct.
classifications go with what not our ordinance, but the ordinance definitions for that, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So is our road wider than like a residential, what you would classify as the lower?
It's just, in the ordinance, it's classified a certain way. So if there's design criteria that were recently updated. So I don't know what it was at the time the road was built, but it was classified as a minor collector when the road was built. It met that standard at the time.
How long ago was that?
I have no idea. I'm sure the road probably predates me, so I don't know.
Can you clarify, it's a minor collector, how many minor collectors in Peters Township have commercial properties attached to them? Just 'cause you're
I mean, I honestly don't know. I mean, you could look it up. There's 15, 16 roads listed in the ordinance that are minor collector streets.
That would be a good thing for the board to look at, how many other examples are out there in Peters Township before you let a commercial property attached to this one. Wouldn't you want to know that? Some examples, the widths of those streets for comparison purposes. I would want to know.
All right, thank you, sir. Yeah, you can come up.
Oh, do I have to come up?
Yes, please. And your name?
Leslie Saferno, I live on 115 Old Oak. I just wanted to say there's a bus stop on Oakwood, and we have kids getting on and off the buses right on the corner of Old Oak and Oakwood. So, if that matters, you have your Chardonnay moms coming out.
Sure.
A little bit of my kids are grown up, but
Thank you.
eventually. So.
Can you just make sure you sign in so we have everybody that spoke?
One final time, sir. Come on up, please.
Just to clarify, that curve down at the bottom of Old Oak, right where their entrance is, that meets all the current codes? Because that shows a general radius, a smooth radius curve. That's not what that is. It is much tighter than that.
Well,
Does
I
it
mean,
meet-
they're showing an access, so when we're looking at a new commercial access like this, we're evaluating sight distance. So the sight distance from the intersection that they're showing, looking left and right, and then also for people to turn left in, that's the sight distance that we measure. So, I mean, we're not going back and checking, I mean, we don't go back and look at what the grade of the road is or that. I mean, the road's there. I mean, it's they're not proposing a level of traffic that would warrant, we do check for things like, do they need turn lanes? Is there enough traffic on the road turning left into the site that they would need turn lanes? I mean, that's the stuff we looked at. It didn't warrant any geometric changes like that. There's no level of service issues that say that needs to be an extra lane or a multiple lane coming in and out. They checked the site distance. We've looked at all the geometry there. I think we did have a comment actually, making that left off of 19 or even making a right off 19 and starting to go down towards the proposed driveway. Originally along there on that, be the right side of the road going down the hill, there was a site distance blockage. And I think we identified that early, and I think that's one of the things they did was they proposed to clean up and cut back that hillside on the right going down so you can see the driveway to turn in, so you can have sight distance there. So that is an improvement that they are doing to improve sight distance.
So
When you
as
say warrants, what it does or does not warrant, that again, that's not just based upon you making a decision, it's based upon criteria that's set forth in, in the manuals. and
Right,
books
we
that
have,
rely upon.
there's things written in the ordinance for when we do a new development, they have to not only look at capacity, but, if it's a big enough development, they have to check if it meets a traffic signal warrant, they have to see if it meets a always stop warrant, or do they warrant turn lanes based on the number of left turns, things like that. There's a lot of criteria, it's national criteria, Institute of Transportation Engineers, AASHTO, PennDOT, that's the criteria that the township adopts to check these things.
And that you're checking against.
Right.
When you're doing your analysis.
Correct.
So when you're not going to make them change anything if the road, because it's not smooth, it goes down and makes a very sharp curve there at the bottom. Would they put that road in just like that if it was brand new?
We didn't look at it like that. I mean, it's a 25 mile per hour road. I could look up in the ordinance what the radius for a 25 mile an hour road is. You can go back and look at that, but that's not something we normally do because that's the type of stuff we try to identify in issues with capacity analysis, site distance. We look at crash history. I mean, we ask the applicant to provide all that information. They do a crash analysis, they look at capacity, they look at site distance, and we check that and we verify that it meets the criteria of the ordinance.
Well, I think you would look at that because now you're gonna add 1,300 more cars onto there. You're gonna add people that could potentially be impaired coming out of that. So I would think that they're going to change the capacity on that road. So they should be responsible to bring it up to current standards. And I can't believe that they would put in a road like that. That road was put in probably 50, 75 years ago, maybe even more than that. And we don't even know what it was classified as a minor, what was the term, a minor?
Collector.
A minor collector
Right.
at that time, and what the criteria was. Has that changed? And would it still be called a minor collector at this time? That's, I think why everyone is concerned about it is because it's different from what that road was designed for and what that topography is. So I think if you want to develop there, then you bring it up to today's standards.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can I just get an answer to that one question I asked?
Please come up, I'm not sure what the question was.
Was it about the zoning, about the 440?
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. That was
Thank
gonna
you.
be my next question. Thank you. So the question was about the distance requirements, section
Right.
440.
This is being considered a restaurant limited counter service as defined by the zoning ordinance, not as a bar.
But it's a
And the-
wine and cigar.
I know it says bar after it, but that's not the way it's actually being used. There's retail sales involved, there's food sales involved, so we're classifying it as a retail restaurant or restaurant limited counter service.
But that's the restaurant part of it, but it's a wine and cigar bar. That's what
But if you look at the way they're gonna
cigar,
operate it
wine
and
bar,
the way it's laid
largest
out,
square footage is a wine, it serves alcohol.
Sure.
Primarily serves alcohol.
and
So how
cigars.
is it not a bar?
So that's the way we classified it, due to the way the place is being operated.
Yeah,
is
that's
that,
a
workaround.
Okay.
That's,
Exactly.
that is like such bullshit. That's how, that's.
that's my interpretation. If they want to interpret it differently, then,
Make them call it a restaurant?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
The title,
She's,
Not allow them to use the term
Lizzie's
bar,
got a
or
question.
why?
She's an alternate, it's gonna be between the
Since-
three of us here.
What do you know?
I mean, it's innate. We're going based on the way
Yeah, it's
they
more
are
of
proposing
it's
to
only the
operate
three
the
of
place,
us
which
that
is
really
for
count
retail
towards it.
sale of
I'm
cigars
just
as well
saying,
as
that's the
there
way it
being
was a
food
couple
and
years
drink
ago.
at the place.
So they'll have a liquor.
You're a regular member.
They will have a liquor license, yes.
I'm pretty sure.
It's really no different than a restaurant.
Is the
I
restaurant?
mean,
gonna have
I'm
a
not-
liquor
yeah, 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 no, I knew what you're saying, I
was
wasn't
looking at
thinking
a
about that.
five-vote, you know,
Yeah, I
that-
wasn't
Mark,
thinking about that.
can I ask you a procedure question?
Sure.
Since Leslie's an alternate, and we have 4 here today, is she still supposed to vote, correct?
Actually, I believe it's only the.
Three of
The
us.
3 of us,
Okay.
since we have a quorum.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only time Leslie would vote is if we don't have a quorum.
I'm glad you raised it, Leslie.
Okay, thank you, thank you, sorry about that.
All right. All right.
But I think Leslie saw the question.
Yeah.
Do you have another question? That was the question.
that was
Do
the
you have any
question, okay.
questions?
Well, I have a question.
Go ahead.
What traffic calming devices are on that road going to the right? Are there?
I don't think there's any on,
They're on.
Old Oak, there's down on Oakwood, and tell me if I flip that. It's Oakwood that has traffic calming devices on it. Old Oak does not.
Okay.
But Oakwood feeds Old Oak. So those cars are either gonna come up and go that way to the restaurant, not bar, or go the other way.
Does somebody have the definitions, just, where I could look that up real quick, as far as the
Definition of what?
categorizations for the restaurants?
As they're talking about this being a bar, is there parameters on hours?
I'm sure the township has hours.
We don't have any restrictions on hours for any businesses. So there is no
Even
rest-
like but isn't it like if it was a true bar, it'd be governed by,
Well, the liquor, I mean, there's state
Yeah.
regulations, but
Yeah.
we as a township don't have regulations on that.
And not just on that, on anything in the township, right? Like Giant Eagle can be open as late as it wants to be, or
Correct.
whatever, okay. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to pull this up and find it.
So the bar is an establishment where the principal use is serving alcoholic beverages by the drink to the general public and where food or packaged beverages may be served or sold as accessory. If you want to slip over to restaurant.
Okay.
Well, with all due respect.
Oh, wait, can I just let them finish?
Can be a bar.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to listen to the definitions, okay?
So-
I'm just trying to gather more information.
So the way they're proposing to operate it, it would be classified as a restaurant, comma, limited counter service. That's a retail use which serves food and or drinks to customers for consumption on the premises, on or off the premises that may or may not have seating. It may include accessory wholesaling, manufacturing, or processing of food, goods, commodities on the premises. Aside from traditional food stores, the definition of limited restaurant also includes coffee stores, juice bars, bakeries, delicatessens, and confectionaries and made-to-order facilities, and such as those with gas stations, Sheetz, or grocery stores, Giant Eagle, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's.
Mark, could you bring up the page that shows your recommendation and the
Yeah,
various
that
conditions?
list you had it.
Because we don't have.
Oh, there it is, okay.
Thanks.
And so it's being classified similar to, like,
The restaurant definition, yes.
right,
It
that
is.
would be similar to like, is that what, the pizza, I've just lost it in my head.
Harry's.
No, on Valley, no, on McMurray, the pizza shop that has the dentist right next to it.
Oh, this
Lorenzo's?
one over here.
Yeah, sorry, I'm so bad.
Um,
Is that a similar, is that the same?
That would be similar, yes.
That's the same kind of
Yeah.
definition that like Lorenzo's would be?
Right.
Okay.
Did
And
they-
Lorenzo's is identified as a restaurant?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
Did they quantify where they expect most of their revenue to come from? Do they
I
expect
believe
it to
they
be
did,
from
and the
food?
owners here can talk to that.
Do you expect most of your revenue to come from the food or from the cigar and wine sales?
We expect it to be a mix of both.
Which one more heavily?
It's hard to say.
He's just
The
the landlord.
inside of the facility is nothing like a traditional bar, it's like a restaurant, there's very casual seating, tables, casual seating.
Okay,
And,
interesting.
we have a lot of, kitchen design into it to prepare food, so we anticipate probably a 50-50 mix.
And there's bar
I
seating?
didn't know that.
There is a very limited bar seating.
And cigar bar seating?
It's a cigar room.
Not what he just described.
Maybe she will show.
You got a comment or motion?
What you just described and what they said are two very different things. He just described that there's just a vault for cigars, and that the food, they're not sure, could be a 50-50 mix. They're not sure where most of the, funding will come from, and then they're saying that it's gonna be
No, what
mostly
he's saying is that
funding
how it
from
was
one or the
classified, how it was submitted to the
Correct.
township, places it in the
Yes.
restaurant definition
But then
versus a bar
reality is something
definition.
completely different.
I guess that's just not the way I heard it. I heard him saying that it's restaurants, food, and it's bar, and there's gonna be wine, and then I don't know that I know that I see a distinction between wine versus cigar. But as far as
Well,
the utilization, just
Yeah.
the utilization, and then what had to be decided is what categorization does that fit under, which is why I asked the clarifying question as far as what else do we have in the township that
No, I
you would
understand
look
what
at
you're
that.
saying.
So that's what I'm.
His description is not his description.
Yeah, and I guess I just maybe don't see it that same way.
May I say, and I understand exactly what you're saying, ma'am.
Sir, come up here, please. I don't want you
Everybody
screaming.
else, you know what,
All
we're
right,
just sitting here in a council.
But we get
Please,
recorded, we're recording off
Problem is the
the
people who are
paper.
watching.
A restaurant, you
We
can
just have
call.
you come up, sir,
you can-
because this is being recorded.
Okay,
and so
well,
the people who
everybody
are
else was
watching-
still talking, but apparently I've been called out, so that's okay.
No, that's not it, sir.
I understand what you say, you're using Lorenzo's, I think maybe you were thinking about Fiore's, but either one, and it's a restaurant, and he's giving the definition. But what's the definition of a wine and cigar bar? I know what a wine and cigar bar is, they're drinking and smoking. That's it. They are not there for the food, they're smoking their stogies, they're having the wine, and most cigar bars have little lockers that they can keep whatever they want in there. Nice bottle of Chivas Regal, whatever, is all I'm saying. But my point is, going back to that turn, and somebody else mentioned it, when you are going southbound and you are at the Donaldson's Crossroads, as soon as you go through the light, you gotta get in that left lane. I have just a pickup truck, a 1500, not a huge one. If I come up that road and I stay in my lane, because there's yellow lines, it is hard pressed when people come in, even if they're making the right coming in there, let alone somebody making the left coming in there. Even if you have an Amazon truck, now that's even wider, that is a convoluted little road, and once again, and I love you guys, but I appease you. You need to go there, get out of your car, walk it, look at it, live it, love it. Thank you.
Any other comments by the commission?
But there is one.
All right, please, one last comment. Everybody else is already spoken. Please announce your name.
My name is Lucy Cristoforetti, and I'm here to agree with everything they've said about the safety of that space. I wish you all the best in your business. It's not about that, it's about the safety. The turn in there off of 19 is not safe. I've been there 44 years in Stratford Manor. It is not a safe entrance or exit, and to have larger amounts of people coming and going is not a good idea for all of us who live in that area and for anybody who entertains using the new facility. It's not a safe place. You do need to go and see it, experience it yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to make a go?
All right, after hearing everything, and reviewing everything that we have here, and the fact that this is a permitted use, and that there have been, the stock traffic studies and the analysis, I'm gonna make a recommendation to approve the 3836 Washington Road Development Plan with the recommendations and conditions contained in the March 12th, 2026, is that the right date? Gateway Engineers letter, recommendations 1 through 6.
Make sure
Is
that's
that?
the right one. I
or is
think
it
this
one
is
more?
for the bank one.
No.
I think that's the bank.
What's the date of the letter? March 4th, I'm sorry, the
That's
March
right.
4th, 2026
Yeah, it's up there.
letter set for, I just didn't see. the
Okay,
date.
all right.
The March 4th, 2026 letter, 1 through 6.
Although the arguments of the audience has been compelling and definitely heartfelt, and we've been through this ad nauseum. I know all the boxes have been checked with Gateway and the traffic studies, all down the line to the fire department, and as much as I hate to say this, I do have to agree, and I will second that motion.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mark 3-0.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna give you this. Slide this. Slide it. Slide it forward. You got it. I think we're gonna. I mean, I do think we need to fix that. Doing something. Again, it's just not time.
Excuse me, guys, we still have one more thing on the agenda. Mark, you want to talk about the 4100 Washington Road?
Actually, Mr. King here will be making.
Okay, great. Thanks, Garrett.
All right, so this is the second time this project has been in front of the board. It's a relatively small lot on Washington Road. There was existing structures, those structures have since been removed. It's actually not a very flat lot. They did have to go in front of council for a modification to the saldo for increased wall height in the rear. These adjacent properties have similar height walls, so there will be a new retaining wall across the back of the lot, and then the rest of the lot will be relatively flat for parking. The proposal was a 2,445 square foot commercial building. The current use is a proposed bank that will have a drive-through going around from the entrance around the building, and then there will be a canopy on this side for that bank. This property is proposing at least one connection. Oh, it has both now? Okay, so it has both connections to the adjacent properties. Those interconnections will be made.
Oh, both will be made?
Both will be made.
That is a revision since last time.
Okay.
We also now have the updated elevation drawings. Those were lacking from the last time this was here, as well as a revised fire truck turning template. After the applicant met and talked with the fire chief has approved a letter stating that they would be okay with the truck entering from the adjacent lot and then navigating or exiting to the adjacent lot for that access. At this time, most of the outstanding comments from last time have been addressed. I believe there's still some comments about the retaining wall. The applicant has noted that they wish to submit the finalized wall structural drawings at the time of application for the building permit. So that would be a condition, if you were to approve this tonight. And then there's some other smaller comments, in those letters as well, but those should all be able to be conditioned.
And the other thing I'll just add, the HOP, they do now have a HOP as of January was renewed. That was one of the concerns that Gateway had.
Gateway or Mike, you guys got any additional comments or just anything major in your letters that they still need to address or not?
Just on the traffic side, we had a first comment letter with, a dozen comments maybe, and then they revised the plan and addressed everything from the traffic perspective. And like Mark just said, they've had an HOP, they've extended it now for another year, so they have their HOP in hand, so they're ready to go.
Great. How about Gateway?
I have a comment letter dated March 5th, 2026. There's some outstanding geotechnical comments, just more so administrative in nature, providing additional information. The retaining wall comment still stands. This wall is a little bit different than the one we just looked at because this wall it's a fill site, so they're building up rather than cutting out and potentially affecting neighboring properties. So it's a little bit different in from that respect. So that comment would still remain until they provide the retaining wall drawing, which they're requesting to provide that after site plan approval. The reason they're requesting that is it confirms that their site plan is solid, and then they can move forward with the retaining wall design.
So that would make sense to you? What they're asking for makes sense,
It
you
makes
think?
sense to me, yes,
Okay.
it does.
Okay.
I have a few comments on stormwater management side of things, just a minor cleanup in the report that they need to provide. And then we're asking for additional information on their, one of their erosion calculations they need to prepare and provide to us for where they're outletting their stormwater.
And does that calculation have a concern that is it that they haven't included it, or you just think that it's not calculated correctly, and would that have an impact, do you think?
I think it's more so that it's not included.
Okay.
I think they just need to provide that, and we'll get a review of it and be able to advise if anything else needs to be done with it.
Okay.
Kim, you wanna come up? Anything you have additional to add? This is your development, right? I'm sorry.
Yes, it is, yes. Right, want to come up? Sign. Hi, I'm Kim Claxon. We're developing this property.
And I'm Mike Rizzo. I'm with KLH Engineers. I'm the lead site engineer on the project.
So, thank you for taking the time with us tonight. I know it's been a long night, so hopefully we can get through here pretty quick. Mr. King, can you show us that aerial that you showed before, just of the property with the houses on it? I want to bring up a couple things. So those were that's the tarot shop, and that's the house, and there was 3 businesses on this site. So I'm bringing that up. So we do have, we've demolished these houses because they're an eyesore. We wanted to get those away from the township as quickly as we could to try to improve this area. We've done the property next door, McMurray Shops, and we have Washington Circle next to that. We're building a wall and we're gonna engineer the wall once you get approval, so we can get it done right, and have the engineers tell us what we need to do to do that right. So, we do have the interconnection, so we're one of the only properties in Peters that has the interconnections, and we're paying for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's yeah.
Well, I remember when Walnut Capital developed the Starbucks there. They wanted that property so bad to cut through, the guy wouldn't sell, and then when you guys developed the other plaza, that guy wouldn't sell, and finally, now it's interconnected.
Yeah,
Which
so
is great.
it's gonna help, it's
Took
gonna
probably
help us.
20 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I'm getting old at this.
Yeah.
So, I hated seeing that taro shop there all the time,
Ah,
nobody
yeah.
ever in there. So one of the things that we like to explore with you a little bit is our traffic study. So we've got our number of trips, I think was at 3,400 or 34,200. So, so I looked at it at a square footage basis, that's $14.58 a square foot. If you look at the bar and restaurant that you just approved, that's at $11 and, I think it's at $11.21 a square foot. We do real estate, we do square footage numbers. So I look at, there's one ATM on this site for the bank. I don't see them getting that many trips. When I look at, PNC's got 4 drive-throughs, F&B's got 5 drive-throughs. You got, Huntington's got 3 drive-throughs in a state, and you look at them and there's nobody ever in those drive-throughs. Drive around. So I'd like to, let's relook at the cost of, or what we're talking about for the traffic
Well,
impact
I
fee.
think that'd be what Mr. Mudry, I mean, is it just because of the use as a bank, right?
I think what we, and I gotta admit, I didn't bring my letter with me tonight, but I think we did it based upon IT trip gen again for a single lane bank drive-through. So the independent variable with banks, instead of square footages, they use number of
That's
drive-through
what I
lanes.
thought.
So one drive-through lane came out to X number of trips. Then there's also this pass-by thing, people driving on their way home, there's a certain percentage, we take them out of the equation. So whatever that was, that's how we calculated it.
Good, so.
We could look at it a different way. I'm just saying, I don't know if the square footage of the ITE will come out the same. And I hear what you're saying. Yeah, restaurant has a different ITE rate versus bank. So I don't have it on top of
And
my.
I think almost banks, I mean, I think we talked about this once before. It's almost like, that number seems like it's dated.
Well,
Not that many people
yeah,
know.
I mean, we're moving so fast nowadays with the technology and how
Yeah.
people do stuff.
Yeah.
You're right. I don't know. Yeah, some of that bank data goes back pre-COVID, so in that manual. So you're right. You're capturing habits that may be only 10 years old, where at a
10
restaurant
years.
level it doesn't make a lot of difference, but maybe for a bank it does. So I mean, we could talk about a different way. I'd have to sit down with Mark and go over that.
Yeah.
We could certainly do that.
Yeah.
Unless Mark tells me, no, we're not gonna do that, but I mean, we're certainly open to it, I think.
I mean, I completely understand where Mr. Claxton's coming from, because banks really, I'd say to him, what's a bank?
Yeah.
I haven't been to one in ages.
Right, so, yeah,
So
But I guess on the
don't
other
see-
hand, the numbers are the numbers,
Right.
right? And so we can't just give a modification to that. It would have to be the numbers
Well,
at a
people who can
reanalysis.
give the modification would actually be council.
Right. Or, no, I just mean if relook at it how it was calculated.
Right.
Because the calculations are the calculations.
right. I mean, Josh actually found my letter. I'm glad he brought his
Okay.
computer. I did. So it's a bank in ITE land generates 27 trips per drive-through lane. And then we also gave a 35% reduction because of pass-by trips. So it was 27, then we took 9 off. And what's that come up to? 18 trips. So it's 18 trips times. The problem with the bank is you get counted on trips. So the bank is so quick. When you drive in, that's a trip, but then when they are done in 10 minutes and they leave again, that's another trip, the way it counts. So I don't want to say you're getting double counted, because that's the way it works, but that's kind of but it's like that on everybody, Lo. So it's.
And same as the,
uniform.
we hit.
It's not just banks,
We
it's everybody.
subjected Huntington Bank to the same thing, though.
Yeah, and theirs was based
Quite
on, I
probably-
can't remember how many they had, so
Yeah.
they would have been similar. So 27 times how many drive-through lanes minus 35%. So they paid whatever that was.
So Mark, if we would approve it subject to the
Line number 5.
impact fee, he could always, Kim could always go back to council and ask for modification after the fact?
That's what I would recommend, yeah.
So we would approve it with what it says right now. Like,
Okay.
this
I
is
don't
what
think,
we're
I don't
approving
think
it as, but if
we
we were
legally
doing it as-
can.
Well,
You
no,
said
we
only
can't
council
change
can do
anything.
that, so.
And so we never got credit for the 3 businesses that were there in the past. I want that terror shop to get some trips.
I think they should get a credit for connecting the 2 lots, so.
Yeah, I hate to tell you what that costs.
Yeah, that's big.
So we would, I mean, we approve it based upon what everything is in front of us, but then if somebody was going to look for a modification, or if there was a way to relook at it, then you just have to come back and.
Or would he
ask
have
that.
to go to council first for the modification before we could approve? Because hasn't the council in the past have a?
We have done this once before.
Yes.
And I guess it was prior to,
Council
I
gave
mean,
credit
you
for
have to-
something.
You have to pay, you have to have the impact fee stated at this level of approval on
Right.
there, but it's not payable until the building permit.
Correct.
So,
We can-
unless Mark thinks differently, I think council can override and put a condition on anything. And Mark, if I'm misinterpreting this,
But this
I
is
think if you
this is
pass it-
final approval
Yeah.
right now.
this is.
It's final approval, but can't they change, they can't do that? So they would have to do it before.
It wouldn't.
That's why you do your variances first, your modifications.
Right.
I'm willing to push it to the construction, to our building plans, if that helps, to see how that works, and so.
And,
We would have to
Yeah.
table.
And I will
it.
say
We would
that
have to
there is-
table
No, I
it.
don't want to table it, so.
So then I think we have to approve it as is.
And if you can go back and council, you make some minor modification, come back to this commission, maybe we could.
Yeah.
Or can we though, or
You
once
can always
it's
bring the
done?
plan back, even
Right.
if you approve it.
Right.
If there's a modification.
Yeah.
So we would have to go and check to see what we
Yeah.
can do in terms of the process. But like I said, in the past, the way we've modified these fees, and there's only one example I have.
They've done it before they came
They've done
here.
it before council.
Yeah.
And then.
And I guess the thing is that, because depending upon whatever you would go back and look at, you've already given credit, the -9, right?
correct.
So you've already given a.
Well, I think Mr.
credit.
Claxton was also asking for credit.
No, I know, I just mean that we've already,
Yeah,
like,
okay.
I think there's been one there, so.
So how we do this in other townships in the area is that you do the trips. You put a trip monitor out, and you hire the traffic engineer, and they tell you how many trips that you generate. And that's what you do. Just,
So there is something in the impact fee ordinance, and I'll just, because Kim has been on the impact fee committee, I'll just, I'll throw it out there because you probably remember talking about this in the past. There is a way that you pay your impact fee now, and then once the business opens and it's been open a year, you can hire your own traffic engineer, and they talk to us, and we agree upon, hey, they'll go out and do a post-opening study, and if it's less, they could apply for a credit. And that has happened a handful of times, but that might take, again, you gotta be open a year before you go and do that study, so it's a down the road kind of
yeah, I don't want to open that up for all the township people. Get you back in again.
Has that happened here in Peters, or you've seen that in?
We
other-
have, well, I think it's happened once or twice here in Peters, someone has asked for a refund, but it's written in the code, it's in the ordinance, that there is a procedure.
So that's
if
not
you-
for us even to address.
No,
that.
no, but I'm just saying, if that's another avenue, if Kim would rather, pay, get things moving, get it in the ground, and then
Okay,
open
are
a
you
year and see.
okay
if
with
we
us
get-
moving forward without?
Yes, let's pay and get going,
Okay.
and then we'll look at the other banks and see what they've done, and if we don't generate any of those trips like that, we'll come back. So,
I mean,
yes,
it sounds like it's that you submit that.
yes, later on.
Any commissioner comments additional?
Thank him for his patience.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. Yeah. We got a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, and this is the final stop for this, right, guys?
Correct.
So I'm making a motion that the planning commission recommend this as this final for the 4100 Washington Road land development, and add the 5 conditions, including the payment of a traffic impact fee.
Is it 6? I'm sorry. is it
It's
6
the last
conditions?
ones, well, if we had any
I
additional.
see, okay, I'm sorry. I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Kim.
Thanks very much, thanks for.
Mark, anything else?
Thanks for your
I don't know
service.
how you got on here second.
Just lucky, I guess.
The only thing I'll note is the steering committee for the comprehensive plan will be meeting on April 8th, which is a Wednesday at 7 o'clock at the high school. The large instructional group.
Nice. Nothing else?
We'll actually have a draft of the comprehensive plan to review.
Oh, great.
A lot of talking there too. A lot of talking.
Meeting adjourned.